Good morning. It's the Doug Rising Show. Well, the Doug Rising Show. Well, the Doug Rising Show. And I'm the Rice. Baby, get up. Wake up. How you doing? It's the Doug Rising Show at 7 a.m. That's right, folks. I've been up since 4. Get over it. How you doing, folks? Wednesday, 7:01 in the morning. We made it through the caucastic pagan evening. Yeah, they didn't knock on my door. They didn't ring my bell. Take that bullshit and straight to hell. I'm serious. I don't need that nonsense in my life. Neither myself nor my wife. I hope everybody's doing well. If you are on your way to work, if you're getting dressed, if you are up and Ant, please leave me face up, if you don't mind, on the dresser. Put me on speaker and go about gathering yourself as I gather your mind together and prepare you for the day. Oh, yes, Negroes, there is a lot that might come your way. The attitudes. The attitudes they are exuding. Oh, yeah, you better choose sides. And they're looking right in your eyes. They want to know which way you go, with the Palestinians or with the Israeli. No, that don't work. Anyway, you let them know beyond all measure that you don't take sides. That is your treasure. Because, here's the deal. Both of them, both sides culminate into, well, what Negroes have to face today. I have not seen not a single Palestinian be cool to a Negro in any sense of the word, while in America, it sounds absurd. I walk in the stores. You know what? I told the moderator yesterday. Yeah, buddy. Palestinians and Middle Easterners, they're always behind Negroes. Yes, they are, especially when you walk in their goddamn stores. The moment you walk in one of these motherfucking stores, they are right behind you all the way, every step. Throughout the experience, they're with you, always looking, always watching, always anticipating until you exit the store, and with your exit vanishes any memory of you from their minds. Don't tell me who's on our side. Nobody is on a Negro's side. You better look around. Now, you better understand all those people that have helped us in the past. We knew that shit wouldn't last. You better kiss my black ass. Negroes are on their own, all alone. And that's my opening salvo. That's the shot I'll take. The rest of the show, the truth about the Talmud. That's the info we'll make. All right, who cares? Moving on. All right, folks, trying to open up a little bit of entertaining diatribe. Moving on, as you can imagine. Middle of the week, it's hump day. It's Wednesday. What you going to do? What are you going to do today? Are you going to go in there? You're going to be skinning and grinning, and you're going to be cheesing and appeasing? What are you going to be doing? Are you going to be sirring and pleasing? Are you going to have a goddamned grin on your face today? Well, let me see what I can do to keep it that way. Here we go, folks. The truth about the Talmud. Today, we are going to delve into this information. I'd like you, if you don't mind, to like, subscribe, and share. Yeah, I got a chip on my shoulder. It's right there. Here's the reason why. You're looking at the news. I'm looking at the news every day, all day, the news. And we make a go of it. And today, as we wake up, they have bombed yet again the same refugee camp. And I don't know if you understand the numbers that I understand, that I hear, 100,000 people in a refugee camp. I don't know, listen, they talked about they wanted to get a guy that was probably hiding underneath the refugee camp. And the word is that they got him. at the cost of God knows how many hundreds and hundreds of lives, men, women, children who had nothing to do with bombing Israel. But I digress. They did sell us into slavery, didn't they? Well, I guess you get what you pay for, don't you? I mean, you take us out of the equation, you take the Negro nation out of place, and then what happens? Well, bombs go off in your face. Long term, oh, get the hell over it. You'll learn. All of this that's gone amiss is because of the unequal, uneven misappropriation of Negroes out of their nation. Do you understand? And thus began the traveling man. You know, when it said that it is not for man who is walking to direct his own feet. You know, it says that in the Bible. It really sounds neat. But what are they really talking about? You know, what's going on is white people are assigning and designating land and area to people. They've been doing this for a minute. And let me tell you something, folks. They pick out the choicest land for themselves, and they move themselves right in. It's not for man who is walking to direct his own steps. That's a sin, isn't it? And here's the corrective measure that's approaching this creation. First, the reinstatement of the holy Negro nation. And then all the rest of the pieces, they're going to fall right damn in place. And each man scattered all over the world will turn back to his place. I hope that rhymed. I don't care. All right, truth about the Talmud. Why am I talking about the Talmud today? Why am I discussing this particular piece of literary, obscenity and just the anchor through which these individuals who call themselves Jews but are not just sustain themselves and position themselves? And this anchor, we're going to examine every inch of it. We're going to go through every single connection. Every link of this anchor we're going to examine. We're going to find out. This is what we're going to find out. Why are they hated? I don't hate anybody. That takes a lot of work. I have a deep disdain for what they stand for because I've done the math and I've got the receipts. But we have to ask ourselves, are they a magnet for hatred, or is their hatred complete? I need to know what's going on, and I think this tells us. And, you know, the force is strong with this. If you don't know anything about the Talmud, if you don't know what it is, we're going to find it out today. And what the Talmud represents, I got to tell you, it's going to blow your mind. This is the basis through which the state of Israel sustains its beliefs and sense of self. This is going to be a PDF available to you if you want. Also, folks, please like, subscribe, and share this live. All right, here we go. And thank you for tuning in to the Doug Rice Show. Truth about the Talmud. Can you see that? I hope you can. The truth about the Talmud. Now, we're going to go into this. What I'm trying to figure out is why the disdain for these European Ashkenazi converts to Judaism by order of the king of Khazaria, King Bulan. These individuals brought within the Judaistic faith their pagan beliefs, rituals, attitudes, however you want to call it. And they merged and married these beliefs with true worship and faith in God Almighty. The Creator calls them in Revelation 2:9 a synagogue of Satan. I don't call them a synagogue of Satan. They're also spoken of as those who claim to be Jews but are not. Now let's see. At the root cause of this is that everywhere they roamed after the Prince of Ukraine conquered Khazaria, a nation full of converted European Jewish people. Let's get that right in the mind of all of us before we move forward. This is the orifice, the edifice. This is their Magna Carta. This is their charter. This is what they use to barter. The Talmud. All right? So understand that all of these people are dying over there in that land because of individuals that believe in this. Okay, so I just didn't want that point to miss. Please like, subscribe, and share this. We're going to go into this, and we're not going to miss. Oh, yeah. Can I make it bigger? Oh, yeah. Here we go. The Doug Rice Show. Thanks so much. The truth about the Talmud. We're getting just to the heart of who these individuals are. I didn't write this. Somebody sent this to me. I don't know. I said somebody got it to me. I found it. Somebody got it to me in a kind of convoluted, iridescent kind of way. It found itself in my possession. Introduction. The Talmud is Judaism's holiest book. Actually, a collection of books. Its authority takes precedence over the Old Testament in Judaism. Now, that's an interesting opening shot. Let's see what else they've got. Evidence of this may be found in the Talmud itself. Eurobin 21b, Soncino edition. I'm going to do that to the C. My son, be more careful in the observance of the words of the scribes than in the words of the Torah, Old Testament. So this is what the Talmud is in the minds of Jews, in the minds of Israelis who are occupying Israel as they have designated it in their mind, not Judea, okay, The supremacy of the Talmud over the Bible and the Israeli state may also be seen in the case of the Black Ethiopian Jews. Ethiopians are very knowledgeable of the Old Testament. However, their religion is so ancient, it predates the scribes' Talmud, of which the Ethiopians have no knowledge. And that's according to the New York Times in 1992. Folks, we're going to dissect this. This is information that they did not want you and I to obtain. What they'd much rather prefer is you and I ignorant remain. Problem is that Ethiopian Jewish tradition goes no further than the Bible or Torah. The later Talmud and other commentaries that form the basis of modern traditions never came their way, because they are not traffickers in Talmudic tradition. The Black Ethiopian Jews are discriminated against and have been forbidden by the Zionists to perform marriages, funerals, and other services in the Israeli state. Now, let me take a pause there before it's too late. Now, folks, this is going to be an eye-opening experience. This is about 18 or 17 pages. I'm going to read every damn bit of it. You hear me? So I want you to get comfortable. I want you to dig in. I want you to share this live. Okay? I want you to make sure this is on every social media platform that you have. I want you to tell others to share this, because if you want to know why there is such aggression against a group of people, we're going to dive into it today. I'm going to tell you as well my attitude toward Israel and the state of Israel when I was younger. I'm sure it mirrors much of your sentiments. But let's continue, lest I relent. Rabbi Joseph D. Soloveitchik is regarded as one of the most influential rabbis of the 20th century, the unchallenged leader of Orthodox Judaism and the top international authority on halakha, Jewish religious law. Soloveitchik was responsible for instructing and ordaining more than 2,000 rabbis, an entire generation of Jewish leadership. New York Times reporter Ari Goldman describes the basis of the rabbi's authority. Soloveitchik came from a long line of distinguished Talmudic scholars. Until his early 20s, he devoted himself almost exclusively to the study of the Talmud. He came to Yeshiva University's El Chanan Theological Seminary, where he remained the preeminent teacher in the Talmud. He held the title of Lieb Merkin, Professor of Talmud, sitting with his feet crossed in the front of a table bearing an open volume of the Talmud. Nowhere does Goldman refer to Soloveitchik's knowledge of the Bible as the basis for being one of the leading authorities on Jewish law. The rabbi's credentials are all predicated upon his mastery of the Talmud. Other studies are clearly secondary. Britain's Jewish Chronicle of March 26, 1993 states that in religious school, yeshiva, Jews are devoted to the Talmud to the exclusion of everything else. Now, we need to understand what this basis is basing, because it's basing something here, seriously. They want you to understand the level of influence that the Talmud mandates in the minds of the Jewish community. And we mean the devout, committed to the lie Jewish community. We mean those that tell just some of the story, but don't want to go too far back because, well, that takes away from their glory, because we know the Jews are black. And that ended well. Let's continue to tell. The Talmud nullifies the Bible. The Talmud nullifies the Bible. Read this carefully with me. The Talmud nullifies the Bible. When I'm reading, I expect you to be reading with me. This is how we learn. This is how we process the information. We satisfy what we yearn. The Jewish scribes claim the Talmud is partly a collection of traditions Moses gave them in oral form. The devil's a lie. These had not yet been written down in Jesus' time. Christ condemned the traditions of the Mishnah, early Talmud, and those who taught it, scribes and Pharisees, because the Talmud nullifies the teachings of the Holy Bible. Well, we get some clarification there, don't we? Listen, folks, this infusion into our nation began during Jesus' arrival. This has always been amongst us in such an early time. I really didn't know that, so I have nothing to rhyme. We'll continue. Detrina, stop giving me that look. Here we go. Shmuel Safrai, in the Literature of the Sages, Part 1, page 164, points out that in the chapters 4 and 5 of the Talmud's Gittin tractate, the Talmud nullifies the biblical teaching concerning money lending. Hillel decree the Prose Bowl for the betterment of the world. The Prose Bowl is a legal fiction which allows debts to be collected after the sabbatical year, and it was Hillel's intention thereby to overcome the fear that moneylenders had of losing their money. Interesting. So let's dive into this. I think what they're about to explain to us is why Jesus lost his mind during the money exchangers. Here we go. That's interesting. The famous warning of Jesus Christ about the tradition of men that voids Scripture is in fact a direct reference to the Talmud, or more specifically, the forerunner of the first part of it, the Mishnah, which existed in oral form during Christ's lifetime before being committed to writing. Mark chapter 4 from verse 1 through 13 represents our Lord's pointed condemnation of the Mishnah. Unfortunately, Due to the abysmal ignorance of our day, the widespread Judeo-Christian notion is that the Old Testament is the supreme book of Judaism. But this is not so. The Pharisees teach for doctrine the commandments of rabbis, not God. The Talmudic commentary on the Bible is their supreme law, and not the Bible itself. That commentary does indeed, as Jesus said, void the laws of God, not uphold them. As students of the Talmud, we know this to be true. Jewish scholar Chaim Maccabee in Judaism on Trial quotes Rabbi Yael ben Joseph. Further, without the Talmud, we would not be able to understand passages in the Bible. God has handed this authority to the sages, and tradition is necessary as well as scripture. The sages also made enactments of their own. Anyone who does not study the Talmud cannot understand scripture. Wow. So this is the thing that they said to one another. This is the lie that they spread to each other. This is interesting. There is a tiny Jewish sect which makes a considerable effort to eschew Talmud and adhere to the Old Testament alone. These are the Karaites, a group which historically has been most hated and severely persecuted by Orthodox Jewish rabbinate. To the Mishnah, the rabbis later added the Gemara, the rabbinical commentaries. Together, these comprise the Talmud. There are two versions, the Jerusalem Talmud and the Babylonian Talmud. Now, again, let me reiterate why this is important, why you must understand. The information here is simply setting the stage. It's giving you a foundation and giving you a background on its creation. But when we get into the precepts upon precepts, that's when your mind may take back a step. What these creatures believe to be true has very much to do with me and you. You'll see that shortly, but I just want you to stand by and please share and subscribe and like this live. The Babylonian Talmud is regarded as the authoritative version. The authority of the Babylonian Talmud is also greater than that of the Jerusalem Talmud. In cases of doubt, the former is decisive. And we see that's from some gentleman, a Torah to Kabbalah. He said basic instructions. The study is based on the Jewish authorized Babylonian Talmud. Now, the individuals who published this is based on the Jewish authorized Babylonian Talmud. We have published herein the authenticated sayings of the Jewish Talmud. Look them up for yourself. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, Negroes, please do just that. Never take me at face value because, hey, I'm just like that. Don't do that. I want you to check. Check and have your own receipts. Make this knowledge yours complete. Publish the following irrefutable documentation in the hope of liberating all people, including Jewish people, from the corrosive delusions of racism of this Talmudic hate literature, which is the manual of Orthodox and Hasidic Jews the world over. Now, listen to how this is framed. This Talmudic literature, they call it hate literature. I didn't write this. It's the manual of Orthodox and Hasidic Jews the world over. Now, the implementation of Jewish supremacists of Talmudic hate literature has caused untold suffering throughout history, and now in occupied Palestine. It is used as a justification for the mass murder of Palestinian civilians. Yeah, those are the civilians that sold Negroes into slavery, Europeans and Jews. I just didn't want that to slide by anybody's notice. You know, everybody good? Everybody got that? Okay, good. The Talmud specifically defines all who are not Jews as non-human animals. Now, we're going to quantify that. That's a statement. That's a bold statement. You're telling me that this Talmud, this thing that you call a manual of Orthodox and Hasidic Jews the world over, this Talmud, this literature that's you claim has caused untold suffering throughout history and currently causes untold pain and murder of Palestinian civilians and again those that sold us into slavery. And the Talmud specifically defines all who are not Jews as non-human animals. Really? Well, let me take a drink of water. Here are some teachings of the Jewish Talmud. And I'm reading. This is verbatim. Go check it out yourself. Where a Jew should do evil. Okay, well, let's see here. What does it say? I don't know. I did not read ahead. Okay, Moed Katan 17a. If a Jew is tempted to do evil, he should go to a city where he is not known and do the evil there. I'm sorry, what? Did you read what? And they got like a quote like Matthew 8 and like Exodus 5:2 and you know, see, like Revelation 2:9. Penalty for disobeying rabbis. Urban 21b. Whoever disobeys the rabbis deserves death. Whoa. And will be punished for being boiled in hot excrement in hell. Well, do tell. Folks, can you share this? You know what? If I were in the audience, I would share this live. I'm just not kidding. Okay, so this is the truth about the Talmud. My name is Doug Rise. Hitting a Jew is the same as hitting God. Well, that's a bit odd. Sanhedrin 58b. If a heathen, a Gentile, hits a Jew, the Gentile must be killed. Okay, what is it? Excuse me, what? Excuse me, I bumped into you, dog. I was just walking past and I lost a little bit of, what? Okay. Okay to cheat non-Jews. Sanhedrin 57a. A Jew need not pay attention, or no, wait, a Jew need not pay a Gentile, a Kuthian, the wages owed him for work. What? Wait. Sanhedrin 57a. A Jew need not pay a Gentile the wages owed for work. So if you work, you don't have to pay anybody. Let's move on. I don't know if I can stay shocked at every single one, so I might have to read through them until the deal is done. But dear God, please share this live with everyone. Okay, I'm going. Jews have superior legal status. Baba, 37b. If an ox of an Israelite gores an ox of a Canaanite, there's no liability. But if an ox of a Canaanite gores an ox of an Israelite, the payment is to be full. Okay. Jews may steal from non-Jews. Beba Mezia, 24a. If a Jew finds an object lost by a Gentile heathen, it does not have to be returned. Okay, what have we learned? Affirmed also by Baba, 1130b. We'll let the other scripture confirm it, right? Whoa. God will not spare a Jew who marries his daughter to an old man or takes a wife for his infant son or returns a lost article to a Kuthian. Oh, so what they're saying is it tied into this particular drivel is, toward the end there about marriage and wives and infants and old men. You also don't return the lost article to a Kuthian, which at this point I'm going to assume means a Gentile. So let's just continue. Jews may rob and kill non-Jews. Sanhedrin 57a. When a Jew murders a Gentile, Kuthian, a Gentile, there will be no death penalty. And what a Jew steals from a Gentile, he may keep. Well, isn't that convenient? Wow, that's okay for you. Baba, 37b. The Gentiles are outside the protection of the law, and God has exposed their money to Israel. Okay, so, and I need a drink of coffee. All right, so the truth about the Talmud. We are going to get into the weeds. This is exactly what all Negroes need. Yeah. Did you know? Of course you didn't know. And let me tell you something, folks, it gets worse. It gets so much worse from verse to verse. Forgive me if I sound a bit terse. Let's continue. We're reviewing the Talmud. Remember how we established what it was to Jews. It establishes their law above the Bible. Let's continue. Jews may lie to non-Jews. Baba Kama 113a. Jews may use lies, subterfuges, to circumvent a Gentile. Non-Jewish children are subhuman. This is quoted from Yebamath 98a, all Gentile children are animals. Could you do me a favor, folks? Could you like, subscribe, share? And when I say share, I mean put it everywhere. And do it now. Abodah Zara 36b, Gentile girls are in a state of nidav, filth, from birth. Isn't that interesting? Abodah Zara, Gentiles prefer sex with cows. Really? Wow. Insults against Blessed Mary. Okay, so obviously this is a Catholic-leaning apparatus. But I don't give a damn their status. Because this is coming right at us, isn't it? Let's move. Sanhedrin 106a. Jesus says, Jesus' mother was a whore. Oh, she was, really? Okay. She who was the descendant of princes and governors played the harlot with carpenters. Also in footnote number 2 in Shabbat 104b of the San Cincio edition, it stated that in the uncensored text of the Talmud, it is written that Jesus' mother, Miriam, the hairdresser, had sex with many men. You know what? I'm gonna just say this off point, just right now, just beyond. Listen. They wasn't having sex like that back then. Y'all better understand they didn't do that with many men. That's ridiculous. That got around once or twice, and that was your ass. Period. You would not last. So they exaggerate numbers in every direction. They do so to keep the lie in their protection. But dear God, there's absolutely no connection with this and scriptural Bible. This is like, I'm fighting for my very survival on this one, folks. So like and subscribe and share this one. Woo. Gloats over Christ dying young. Gloats over Christ dying young. A passage from Sanhedrin 106 gloats over the early age at which Jesus died. Hast thou heard how old Balaam Jesus was? He replied. It is not actually stated, but since it is written, bloody and deceitful men shall live out half their days, it follows that he was 33 or 34 years old. This is the brag they made after they handed the brother over. Y'all better understand what's happening. Y'all better get it through your head. You know they wrote this after the brother was dead. They gloated about the horns on his head, probably the thorns on his head. All right, let's move on. Jesus in the Talmud. Horrible blasphemies against Jesus Christ. All right, so again, the Catholic leaning. I'm not going to say it twice. While it is the standard disinformation practice of apologists for the Talmud to deny that it contains any scurrilous references to Jesus Christ, certain Orthodox Jewish organizations are more forthcoming and admit that the Talmud not only mentions Jesus but disparages him as a sorcerer and a demented sex freak. These Orthodox, what did they think was going on back then? Look, man, look, can I tell you something? Listen, man, can we think about this? They didn't have lights back then, man. What you talking about, man? The streets rolled in when the sun sets. So how much booty you think you gonna get, man? There's wild animals out there, there's robbers, there's stealing. You know, this is people trying to reveal. They trying to say it was, listen, they trying to put it like there was lights and there was parties. Man, listen, don't, please, the point, don't be missing. This is exaggeration. They saying Jesus was just hoeing about the nation. Continuing. Come on, man. Okay, so, all right, he's a demented sex freak. Whatever. Nobody was a sex freak back then. You better feel it. No, except the Greeks, maybe, whatever. Wow. These Orthodox organizations made admission perhaps out of the disbelief that Jewish supremacy is so well established in the modern world that they need not concern themselves with adverse reactions. This might be true. For example, on the website of the Orthodox Jewish Hasidic Lubavitch group, one of the largest in the world, we find the following statement, complete with Talmudic citations. Here we go. The Talmud, Babylonian edition, records other sins of Jesus the Nazarene. Okay, here's the first sin they're talking about. He and his disciples practiced sorcery and black magic. They led Jews astray into idolatry and were sponsored by foreign Gentile powers for the purpose of subverting Jewish worship. Really? That's what Jesus did, huh? There's some detailed thinkers back then wearing, I don't know, like what, cloth? I mean, they didn't even have pencils and whatnot. Didn't they take shits in holes? What is it? What are you talking about? How did you eat back then? He fed people miraculously fish. If you're gonna feed people and have all this kind of, you want people to follow you need to feed them some serious, some fragua or some shit. You know what I mean? Okay, what's the two? He was sexually immoral. He worshipped statues of stone. A brick is mentioned. Okay, a brick is mentioned. He's cut off from the Jewish people for his wickedness, and he refused to repent. He called them vipers and workers of lawlessness. That's what he did. He learned witchcraft in Egypt and to perform miracles and use procedures that involve cutting his flesh, which is explicitly banned in the Bible. So he went around cutting himself, did he? Is that what he did? He went around cutting himself. You know what? I think that would have got around. All this would have been written about pretty good, though. Let me just say, he might have been famous for just the opposite direction. If he'd have done all that in connection with what they're talking about, of that I have no doubt. No, we've printed and preserved in our files a hard copy of the statement there's the link, folks. All right, in the event that denials are later discussed. Well, I don't know where this was put, but okay, such and thus. Let us examine further some of these Antichrist Talmud patches. Let's move it. Gittin 57a says Jesus is in hell, being boiled in hot excrement. Who's taking the shit? Who's lighting the fire? Who's actually stirring the pot? Because that person screwed up a lot. Stop with that. He's being boiled like he's being left there because nobody's going to stick around. And of course, there's got to be a horrible sign. Okay, I'll stop. He's being boiled in hot excrement. Right. Sanhedrin 43a says Jesus, Yeshua. Whoa, at least they admit that. Whoa, was executed because he practiced sorcery. It is taught that on the eve of Passover, Jesus was hung, and 40 days before this, the proclamation was made, Jesus is to be stoned to death because he has practiced sorcery and has lured the people to idolatry. He was an enticer, and of such thou shalt not pity or condone. Listen, folks, leave that mess alone. Stop that. Listen, if he'd been like that, he'd have been as good as, Rasputin. Seriously, Rasputin was known for his evil. They didn't put him up on a pedestal. You feel me? So this is interesting. Anyway, Column 51, the elders were once sitting in the gate. Oh, were they? When two young lads passed by. One covered his head and the other uncovered his head. Of him who covered his head, Rabbi Eliezer remarked that he's a bastard. Rabbi Joshua remarked that he is the son of Anida. Boy, that's close, ain't it? That's close, huh? Anida. A child conceived during a woman's menstrual period. Rabbi, wow, they go deep, don't they? Rabbi Akiva said that he is both a bastard and a son of Anida. Wow. I don't think they like Yeshua much. They said, what indeed you to contradict the opinions of your colleagues? He replied, I will prove it concerning him. He went to the lad's mother and found her sitting in the market selling beans. He said to her, my daughter, if you will answer the question, I will put it to you. I will bring you to the world to come, eternal life. She said, swear it to me. This is a lie. Rabbi Akiva had taken the oath with his lips, but annulling it in his heart, because he could do that. That's his part. Said to her, what is the status of your son? She replied, when I entered the bridal chamber, I was Nida. Say it again. Menstruating. And my husband kept away from me, but my best man had intercourse with me, and this son was born to me. Consequently, the child was both a bastard and the son of Anita. Oh, she said all that, did she? She said that to you? Okay. It was declared, blessed be the God of Israel who revealed his secret to Rabbi Akiva. Now, this is more likely, I'm going to say it, an Ashkenazi imposter. This was just a convert to Judaism, or maybe he was, I don't know, he could have been a brother, who knows? But here's the thing. Yeshua confronted these beings. He confronted them directly. And the other side of the story has no association with this. I got to tell you something, folks. This is a story I wouldn't have wanted to miss. I would have wanted to know about this. I'm not kidding. What are you hiding this? If this is, but this is made up because it comes up after specific events are done. And this is the story they want to run. All right, I'm moving on. Let's move on. Okay. In addition to the theme that God rewards clever liars, the preceding Talmud discussion is actually about Jesus Christ, the bastard boy who uncovered his head and was conceived in the filth of menstruation. The boy's adulterous mother in this Talmud story is the mother of Christ, of course, blessed Mary. This is Catholic leaning. Please don't misunderstand my meaning. I'm just reading. The edito precepts of the complete codic of Talmudic law, replete not only with the most offensive precepts against all Gentiles, but also with explicit attacks on Christianity and on Jesus, after whose name the author adds piously, may the name of the wicked perish. Now, I need to just pause right here. Is there any question as to why the Creator called these individuals a synagogue of Satan? Is there any understanding at this point, and we're early in the reading, and I don't know how much more proof we'll be needing, but is there more that you need to see? Is there more I need to read for you to understand and perceive why they had to leave? We'll tell the story again. The folks that believe in the Talmud, these are the Israelis that are fighting and killing Palestinians, those folks that sold us into slavery along with other folks. Yeah, we're not going to ever let that go. They believe in this book called the Talmud. And the complaint is against these individuals, and I personally supported Israel. When I was younger, my father inculcated and indoctrinated me with the worship of whiteness, just like every other Negro that associated with whiteness so. And had I not woke, I would have chirped up and spoke in defense of everything attacking Israel today. But as we all know, over the years, I've expressed a different sentiment. And so now here is what I'll say. There's a reason that this is happening. There's a reason that this is occurring. This is absolutely problematic, the problems that are stirring. There are imposters, Khazarian Jews, Jewish converts, pretenders, and they will move heaven and earth as they are doing right now to remain in position. And I got to tell you, it's a vast and wide, ominously perilous, dangerous, deadly mission. Let's continue. The Talmud contains a few explicit references to Jesus. These references are certainly not complimentary. There seems little doubt the execution of Jesus on the eve of Passover does refer to the Christian Yeshua. The passage in Jesus' punishment in hell is described also seemed to refer to the Christian Yeshua. It is a piece of anti-Christian polemic dating from the post-70 CE period. So we know when this was written. According to the Talmud, Jesus was executed by a proper rabbinical court for idolatry, inciting other Jews to idolatry, and contempt for rabbinical authority for men. All classical Jewish sources which mention his execution are quite happy to take responsibility for it. In the Talmudic account, the Romans are not even mentioned. Do you understand what we are facing in this land? The more popular accounts, which are nevertheless taken quite seriously, such as the notorious Toldat Yushua, are even worse. For in addition to the above crimes, they accuse him of witchcraft. The very name Jesus was for the Jews a symbol of all that is abominable, and this popular tradition still persists. The Hebrew form of the name Jesus, Yeshu, was interpreted as an acronym for the curse. May his name and memory be wiped out. Well, that didn't work. Which is used as an extreme form of abuse. In fact, anti-Zionist Orthodox Jews, such as Netori Karta, sometimes refer to Herzl as Herzl Jesus, and I have found in religious Zionist writings expressions such as Nasser Jesus, and more recently, Arafat Jesus. Oh, really? You understand that those insults interwoven into the results of them claiming Jesus to be an obscenity. Let's examine them. Now, the Nasser Jesus refers to Nasser, the Egyptian prince or president, I believe. What he said about these beings was that you left here black and you came back white. We will never accept you. And they never have accepted them. Now, the Arafat Jesus refers to Yasser Arafat, a Palestinian who fought hard for Palestinian statehood and made some gains in putting to bed some of the warring factions and made peace with Egypt. They killed him. They also killed the king of Egypt as well. Yeah. So there's that. Talmud attacks Christians and Christian books. Here we go, continuing the truth about the Talmud. Let's take a look. Rosh Hashanah, 17a, Christians, minimum, we're minimum, not we're, they're minimum, and others who reject the Talmud will go to hell and be punished there for all generations. Interesting. Sanhedrin, 90a, those who read the New Testament, uncanonical books, uncanonical books that they claim are not of God, will have no portion in the world to come. Oh, really? Who wrote this? Shabbat 116a, Jews must destroy the books of the Christians. And they're giving the example, the New Testament. Okie dokie then. Dr. Israel Shahak of Hebrew University reports that the Israelis burned hundreds of New Testament Bibles in occupied Palestine on March 23rd, 1980. And there you go. Check it. There are the receipts. Sick and insane teachings of the Talmud. Now, folks, this ain't going to be no damn good. Here we go. I hope everybody's ready for the show. Just so you know, before we begin and take a deep, close look at their sin, you can support this program, this show, if you will, by telling everybody you know about what we're showing. This is information absolutely worth knowing. To heal the sick and insane teachings of the Talmud. Here we go. Gittin 69a. This is in their Talmud. This is what they preach. This is what they teach. Let's see how far they reach. Gittin 69a. To heal his flesh, a Jew should take dust that lies within the shadow of an outdoor toilet, mix honey with it, and eat it. Okay, let me take a drink of water here. Shabbat 41a, the law regulating the rule for how to urinate in a holy way is given. Okay, I don't know how you urinate in a holy way, but okay. Yabamath 63a states that Adam had sexual intercourse with all the animals in the Garden of Eden. I just need you to take a look at what I'm reading, folks. This is the Talmud. This ain't no joke. Yabamath 63a says, declares that agriculture is the lowest of occupations. Really? Agriculture is the lowest of occupations. I'm beginning to understand where the white man gets some of their notions and some of their practices and some of their beliefs and some of the reasons that they believe what they do is okay. You understand this, right? You hear what I say? Sanhedrin 55b, a Jew may marry a 3-year-old girl, specifically 3 years and a day old. I didn't write this. This is in the Talmud, Sanhedrin 55b. Look it up yourself and there you will see. Sanhedrin 54b. Another B? Oh, 55b. That was 55. It's 54. A Jew may have sex with a child as long as the child is less than 9 years old. Interesting. Kethuboth 11b. When a grown-up man has intercourse with a little girl, it is nothing. I'm reading the Talmud, and they ain't bluffing. This is their book. Remember now, they ran these folks out of Europe. They ran these folks out of where they were. Now, where did they come from? We'll get there. Yabamoth 59b, a woman who had sex or had intercourse with a beast is eligible to marry a Jewish priest. Oh man, that rhymes. A woman who has sex with a demon is also eligible to marry a Jewish priest. Well, isn't that convenient, to say the least? Okay, well, all right, well, you guys are really making yourselves clear. There it is right there. Abod Zara 17a states that there is not a whore in the world that the Talmudic sage Rabbi Eliezer has not had sex with. Huh? What did you say? That's a scripture? No, come on. Y'all are joking. What y'all smoking? Wait. So, to quote Aboda Zara 17a, and that's what makes this show okay, states that there is not a whore in the world that the Talmudic sage Rabbi Eliezer has not had sex with. Well, he's a busy man. On one of his whorehouse roms, Rabbi Eliezer learned that there was one particular prostitute residing in a whorehouse near the sea who would receive a bag of money for her services. He took a bag of money and went to her, crossing 7 rivers to do so. What? I'm not even believing this one. Ain't nobody gonna do all that, man. Yo, man, yo, what? No, yeah. Okay. During their intercourse, the prostitute farted. I'm not joking. After this, the whore told Rabbi Eliezer, just as this gas will never return to my anus, Rabbi Eliezer will never get to heaven. This is a quoted scripture from the Talmud. No, okay. Wait a minute. Was this a joke of some sort? Was somebody like joking and then somebody was smoking and then they found it? And it was like, hey, this looks good. What? Dude, I was over there. No, I like this. Dude, I was just fucking around. No. Hagigah 27a states that no rabbi can ever go to hell. Okay then. Biba Mizia 59b says a rabbi debates God and defeats him. Oh wow. God admits the rabbi won the debate. Okay, listen, before it's too late. Folks, can you do me a favor and like and subscribe to this live? Okay. What we're doing today is we're going over the Talmud to see what it has to say. Needless to say, I did not read ahead. Okay? I don't think I should have read ahead. I don't understand how you don't understand this. I don't get this. How does this get missed? How does anyone in the world miss this? This is why this is a bit obscene. You know what I mean? Y'all aren't serious, are you? Denounce the Talmud and maybe we'll see what we can do if you're good. No, we're not going to do that. No. All right, here we go. Let's continue. Like, subscribe, and share. Mental sinew. Gittin 78. The rabbis taught on coming from a privy, the outdoor toilet, Man should not have sexual intercourse till he has waited long enough to walk half a mile, because the demon of the privy is with him for that time. If he does, his children will be epileptic. This is the Talmud. This is the truth about the Talmud. I did not know there was this much truth for this show. Gittin 69b. To heal the disease of pleurisy, katara, a Jew should take the excrement of a white dog and knead it with balsam. And if he can possibly avoid it, he should not eat the dog's excrement, as it loosens the limbs. Okay. Parashim 111a. It is forbidden for dogs, women, or palm trees to pass between two men, nor may others walk between dogs, women, or palm trees. Special dangers are involved if the women are menstruating or sitting at crossroads. Okay. Menahoth 43b and 44a. A Jewish man is obligated to say the following prayer every day. Thank God for not making me a Gentile, a woman, or a slave. And that covers like 43b and 44a. Where's the 44? So 43, where's like B at? That's weird. Okay. Tall tales of the Roman Holocaust. Now, remember that they exaggerate numbers beyond all measure. I guess they really want people to treasure them, but let's see what they say. Okay, this is again the Talmud. Here we go. Here are two early Holocaust tales from the Talmud. Gittin 57b claims that 4 billion Jews were killed by the Romans in the city of Bathia. And y'all are crying over 6 million? How, what? Gittin 58 claims that 16 million Jewish children were wrapped in scrolls and burned alive by the Romans. 16 million? Wrapped in 60? Who was wrapping the kids in scrolls? Who got that job? Because I know they were conquered people. Are you okay? Let me just continue. I'm just continuing because okay. Ancient demography indicates that there were not 16 million Jews in the entire world at that time, much less 16 million Jewish children of 4 billion Jews. No. Here we go. Revealing admission. Abodah Zarah 78. The question was asked of the rabbi whether wine stolen in Betatha might be used or if it was defiled, due to the fact that the thieves might have been Gentiles. A Gentile touching wine would make the wine unclean. The rabbis say not to worry, that the wine is permissible for Jewish use because the majority of the thieves in Pumbeditha, or Pumbeditha, the place where the wine was stolen, are Jews. So, because there were Jews, in that particular area, if the wine was stolen, all is well. Do tell. Pharisaic rituals. Urban 21b. Rabbi Akiva said to him, "Give him some water to wash my hands. It will not suffice for drinking." The other complained, "Will it suffice for washing your hands?" "What can I do?" the former replied. "When for neglecting the words of the rabbis one deserves death, it is better that I myself should die than that I transgress against the opinions of my colleagues." This is the ritual hand washing condemned by Jesus in Matthew 15:19. Very interesting. Genocide advocated by the Talmud. Whoa, here is something indicative of the current circumstance. Let us take a glance. Minor tractates. Sophorim 15, Rule 10. This is the saying of Rabbi Simon ben Yahai. Tob shebi goyim harog. Even the best of the Gentiles should all be killed. These are the things that these individuals who are bringing all of this terror on the world bring and believe amongst themselves. This passage is from the original Hebrew of the Babylonian Talmud as quoted by the 1907 Jewish Encyclopedia, published by Funken Wagnalls and compiled by Isidore Signer under the entry Gentile. Even the best of the Gentiles should all be killed. Now you're understanding, perhaps, what is happening. The original Talmud passage has been concealed in translation. The Jewish Encyclopedia states that. In the various versions, the reading has been altered, the best among the Egyptians being generally substituted in the Soncino version, the best of the heathens. Israelis annually take part in a national pilgrimage to the grave of Simon ben Yahai to honor this rabbi who advocated the extermination of non-Jews. And there's the reference. In Purim, February 25th, 1994, Israeli Army officer Baruch Goldstein, an Orthodox Jew from Brooklyn, massacred 40 Palestinian civilians, including children. He's nothing now. Netanyahu has surpassed him beyond all measure. While they knelt in prayer in a mosque, this is when he did it. Goldstein was a disciple of the late Brooklyn Rabbi Meir Kahane, who told CBS News that his teaching, that Arabs are dogs, is derived from where? The Talmud. University of Jerusalem professor Ehud Spritzak described Kahane and Goldstein's philosophy. They believe it's God's will that they commit violence against Goyim, a Hebrew term for non-Jews. And that is from that reference, the Daily News, February 26, 1994. Rabbi Yitzhak Ginsburg declared, "We have to recognize that Jewish blood and the blood of all of a Goy are not the same thing." This is what these people say. Rabbi Yaakov Pirin said, 1 million Arabs are not worth a Jewish fingernail. I did not say this. This was quoted in the New York Daily News, February 28, 1996, page 6. Go look it up. Talmudic doctrine, non-Jews are non-human. The Talmud specifically defines all who are not Jews as non-human animals, and specifically dehumanizes Gentiles as not being descendants of Adam. Here are some of the Talmud passages which relate to this topic. Kereboth 6b, uses of oil of anointing. Our rabbis have taught, he who pours the oil of anointing over cattle or vessels is not guilty. If over Gentiles or the dead, he is not guilty. The law relating to cattle and vessels is right, for it is written, upon the flesh of man shall it not be poured. And cattle and vessels are not man, Adam. Also, with regard to the dead, it is plausible that he is exempt, since after death, one is called corpse and not a man, Adam. But why is one exempt in the case of Gentiles, Goyim? Are they not in the category of man, Adam? No, it is written, and ye, my sheep, the sheep of my pasture, are men, Adam. Ye are called men, but Gentile, Goyim, are not called Adam. Now, let me tell you about projecting. Let me tell you about what they're trying in connecting. The fact of the matter is, we have learned through our study that these individuals that are infected with leprosy, these individuals that have overridden genetics stemming from Neanderthals, these individuals who have 2% Neanderthal that affect two things, skin color and the length of their hair, and they go projecting that others other than them are not human. The fact of the matter is, for an individual to be completely human, they need hue in their skin. They need a particular and specific kind and type of melanin. And don't believe anything other than this, because otherwise the point you might miss. Let's continue. Also, in the preceding passage, the rabbis are discussing the portion of the Mosaic law which forbids applying the holy oil to men. The Talmud states that it is not a sin to apply the holy oil to Gentiles, because Gentiles are not human beings, not of Adam. Another example from Tractate Yebanoth 61a. It was taught, and so did R. Simon and Ben Yohai state, the graves of Gentile, Goyim, do not impart Levitical uncleanness by an oil, standing or bending over a grave. For it is said, and ye my sheep, the sheep of my pastor are men, Adam. Ye are called men, Adam. But the idolaters are not called men, Adam. The Old Testament Mosaic law states that touching a human corpse or the grave of a human imparts uncleanness to those who touch it. But the Talmud teaches that if a Jew touches the grave of a Gentile, the Jew is not rendered unclean, since Gentiles are not human, not of Adam. This is what the people who are fighting to be other than they claim to be, the people that are pretending to be you and me, the people that have usurped the position of our position. These are their beliefs. And they're fighting to the death to keep the position they have. This is amazing. I'm literally, I'm not at a loss for words. That's impossible, but it's interesting. From Baba Messiah 11, 1 and 14b, a Jewish priest was standing in a graveyard. When asked why he was standing there in apparent violation of the Mosaic law, he replied that it was permissible since the law only prohibits Jews from standing into contact with the graves of humans. And he was standing in a Gentile graveyard, for it is written, taught by Rabbi Salmon ben Yohai, the graves of Gentiles, Goyim, do not defile, for it is written, if ye may flock, the flock of my pastures are men, Adam, only ye are designated men. So they apply everything in relation to godliness to them. And we know that this is beyond a pretend. They descend from the Caucasus Mountains, which are infected with the fallen. And you look at them, they're disintegrating under the sun above them, while Negroes and people of color glow. Look closely at the people who are claiming to be Israel over in Israel. Understand they have the highest rate of skin cancer in the world. They stand out in the sun and the sun beats them to death. And they have the nerve to say they're God's chosen with their breath. Listen to what they think of you and me. Listen carefully. Ezekiel 4:34-31 is the alleged biblical proof text repeatedly cited in the preceding 3 Talmud passages. But Ezekiel 34:31 does not in fact support the Talmudic notion that only Israelites are human. What these rabbinical anti-Gentile racists and ideologues have done in asserting the preceding absurdities about Gentiles is distort an Old Testament passage in order to justify their bigotry. In Barakah 58a, the Talmud uses Ezekiel 23:20 as proof of the subhuman status of Gentiles. It also teaches that anyone, even a Jewish man, who reveals this Talmudic teaching about non-Jews deserves death. Did you hear that? It teaches that anyone who reveals this Talmudic teaching about non-Jews deserves death. Since revealing it makes Gentiles wrathful and causes the repression of Judaism. So what they complaining about? That is if that's what it talks about, if they say, well, the word is out, and of that have no doubt. We know what you think now. And so you feel they consider us Gentiles, we're going to grow wrathful and cause the repression. Why? Because you think this of other people? Why does the world disdain these beings? I don't know. Can we tell why from what we're seeing? Let's go. The Talmudic citation of this scripture from Ezekiel as a proof text is specious. since the passage does not prove that Gentiles are animals. The passage from Ezekiel only says that some Egyptians had large genital organs and copious emissions. This does not in any way prove or even connote that the Egyptians being referred to in the Bible were considered animals. Once again, the Talmud has falsified the Bible by means of distorted interpretation. Other Talmud passages which expound on Ezekiel 23:20 in this racist fashion are Arakan 19b, Barakoth 25b, Nidah 45a, Shebath 150a, Yebamoth 98b. Moreover, the original text of the Sanhedrin 37a applies God's approval only to the saving of Jewish lives. Moses Maimonides, advocate of extermination. We will now examine the post-Talmudic commentary Ramban Moses Maimonides. This revered sage taught that Christians should be exterminated. He has the highest stature in Judaism. Moses Maimonides is considered the greatest codifier and philosopher in Jewish history. He is often affectionately referred to as the Rambam after the initials of his name and title, Rabbanu Moshe ben Maimon, our Rabbi Moses, son of Mammon. Deep. They take possession of everything and try so hard to keep. Here's what Maimonides Rambam taught concerning saving people's lives, especially concerning saving the lives of Gentiles and Christians, or even Jews who dared to deny the divine inspiration of this thing they call the Talmud. Maimonides said accordingly, if we see an idolater, a Gentile, being swept away or drowning in the river, we should not help him. If we see that his life is in danger, we should not save him. The Hebrew text of the Feldheim 1981 edition of the Mishnah Torah states this as well. Immediately after Maimonides' admonition that it is a duty for Jews not to save a drowning or perishing Gentile, he informs us of the Talmudic duty of Jews towards Christians, and also towards Jews who deny the Talmud. It is a mitzvah, a religious duty, however, to eradicate Jewish traitors, minim, or apikorsim, and to cause them to descend to the pit of destruction, since they cause difficulty to the Jews and sway the people away from God, as did Jesus of Nazareth and his students, and Zadok, Bathos, and their students. May the name of the wicked rot. This is what they say. This is the sentiment that these beings have every day. I need you to share this. I'm going to do this book. I'm going to read this book all the way through as best I can. So this is going to be a long, long live. I'm going to probably be here till 10. The Jewish publisher's commentary accompanying the preceding statement of Maimonides states that Jesus was an example of a min, the plural of a minim. The commentary also states that the students of Zadok were defined as those Jews who deny the truth of the Talmud and who uphold only the written law. According to Maimonides' Principles, page 5, Maimonides spent 12 years extracting every decision and law from the Talmud and arranging them all into 14 systematic volumes. The work was finally completed in 1180 and was called Mishnah Torah, or Code of the Torah. So these vile creatures have put together an antithesis against God Almighty, and they've spread it amongst themselves. And now that they have themselves seated in Jerusalem, which is more likely the entire object of this game, they feel that it is their place to remain. Well, we'll see what God has to say about that. We'll see. This is interesting stuff. So Maimonides taught in another part of the Mishnah Torah that Gentiles are not human, man alone and not vessels. can contract uncleanness by carriage. The corpse of a Gentile, however, does not convey uncleanness by overshadowing. A Gentile does not contract corpse uncleanness, and if a Gentile touches, carries, or overshadows a corpse, he is as one who did not touch it. So they're that sickened in their belief of their holiness. Do you understand how, look, Hebrews are God set apart, Negroes are the chosen of Israel. That's as far as I go. I'm not getting into some crazy, self-deprecating, egotistical show. These individuals think as they stand that they're greater than any common man. And if you look at the medical, biological makeup of this strain of human, you're going to find an array of abnormalities and diseases that might be consuming. To what is this like? It is like a beast which touches a corpse and overshadows it. And this applies not to corpse uncleanness, but to any other kind of uncleanness. Neither Gentiles nor cattle are susceptible to any uncleanness. To hell with these people. Maimonides' Mishnah Torah says also, a Jew who killed a righteous Gentile is not executed in a court of law. It says in Exodus 21:14, if a man schemes against his fellow man and kills that man deliberately, take him away from the altar and put him to death. But a Gentile is not considered a man, and even more so, a Jew is not executed for killing an unrighteous Gentile. So, do you not understand from watching this show why they are hated beyond hate? This is what these folks believe in the Jewish Israeli state. Schindler's List quotes. The Schindler's List quotes. The Talmud, again, the Babylonian Talmud, text of Sanhedrin 37, restricts the duty to save life to saving only Jewish lives. The book on Hebrew censorship, written by Jews themselves, notes that some Talmud texts use the universal phrase, whoever destroys the life of a single human being. It is said, if he had destroyed an entire world, and whoever preserves the life of a single human being, it is as if he had preserved an entire world. Who do these people think they are? You know, this comes from people that are absent. Let me tell you something about supremacy. Let me tell you something about projecting the need to be better than others. Let me tell you this supremacy dialect they have going in their head. They know how lacking they are. I'm sure they've read. They know what runs through their veins. I'm sure the truth is driving them insane. You can look plainly and see the kind of people the Jewish people are. I mean, you can see it. And they're not superior by far. They are not superior by any stretch of the fucking imagination. My God, and they feel they're going to replace the Negro nation. Now, there's no betterment, there's no lesserment. I'm not even about all that. I'm not about superiority, but I am about dominance and recessiveness. I am about genetics and progressiveness. I know that everything with a blonde hair, a blue eye, and white skin is genetically recessive and full of sin. That's a fact. I don't care what you say. Look at what they do every day. And they project this perfection. They try to connect in connection, and there's none. Because they melt and perspire and disintegrate under God's holy sun. How superior are these people? They can't stand outside. That's my trying to. How? I mean, if they're all this, why are people hating them so? I got to tell you, I'm starting to know. However, Hosranot Hashash points out that these are not the authentic words of the original Talmud, and I could give a fuck. In other words, the preceding universalist rendering is not the authentic text of the Talmud, and thus, for example, the universalist version which Steven Spielberg in his famous movie Schindler's List attributed to the Talmud, in which The motto of the movie on posters and its advertisements is a hoax and constitutes propaganda intended to give a humanistic gloss to a Talmud which is, in its essence, racist and chauvinistic hate literature. In the authentic original Talmud text, it states that whoever preserves a single soul of Israel, it is as if he had preserved the entire world. The authentic Talmud text sanctions only the saving of Jewish lives. And you wonder why. My God. The response of the Orthodox rabbis to documentation regarding the racism and hatred in their sacred text is simply to brazenly lie. In keeping with the Talmud's Baba Kama 113a, which states that Jews may use lies, subterfuge, to circumvent a Gentile. The Simon Wiesenthal Center, a multi-million-dollar rabbinical propaganda center, dispatched Rabbi Daniel Landes in 1995 to deny that the Talmud dehumanizes non-Jews. He says it's utter rot. His proof? His word, of course. Lying to circumnavigate a Gentile has a long patrimony in Judaism. Take for the example, the 13th century Talmud debate in Paris between Nicholas of Donin, a Jewish convert to Christianity, and Chaim Maccabee, admits, had a good knowledge of the Talmud. Yael was not under threat of death, bodily injury, imprisonment, or fine. Yet he brazenly lied during the course of the debate. When asked by Donin whether there were attacks on Jesus in the Talmud, Yael denied that there were any. Donin, a Hebrew and Aramaic scholar, knew this to be false. Chaim Maccabee, a 20th century Jewish commentary on the debate, defends rabbis lying in this way. The question may be asked, however, whether you'll really believe that Jesus was not mentioned in the Talmud, or whether he put this forward as an ingenious ploy in the desperate situation in which he found himself. It would certainly have been pardonable if the rabbi to attempt some condemnation in which he did not fully believe to prevent such tyrannical proceedings by one religious culture against another. Oh, so it was okay he lied because he was in a spot. Man, what other bullshit you motherfuckers got? This is how Jewish denial of the existence of a hateful Talmud is justified to this day. A fanciful word for Jewish lying is conjured, condonation, and deemed pardonable, while any scrutiny of Jewish holy books by Christian investigators is characterized as a tyrannical proceeding. In 1994, Rabbi Zvi, I like that one, Martz, director of applied education at the Shalom Hartman Institute in Jerusalem, made a remarkable admission concerning how Jewish rabbis in the past have issued two sets of texts, the authentic Talmudic texts, which they instruct their own youth in the Talmudic schools, and censored and amended versions, which they disseminate to gullible non-Jews for public consumption. What the fuck are they talking about? So they got a real Talmudic text which tells you the dirt, baby, on what they think of you. And not just Negroes, too. You know, if you're not a Jew, they think you're a Gentile, and that's what they think of you. Does that notion make you smile? Interesting. Wow. So, hope I'm not fine. This is how Jewish, 1994, admission, boom, boom. Rabbi Mark states that in the version of Maimonides' teachings published for public consumption, Maimonides is made to say that whoever kills a human being transgresses the law. So for the human consumption version, or the public consumption, they substitute human, right? But Rabbi Marx points out this only reflects the censored and amended print text, whereas the original manuscripts have it only as whoever kills an Israelite. The Jewish book, which is removed from the Talmud, is important in this regard, or that book is important. This book was reprinted in 1989. It is valuable. It lists both the original Talmudic texts that were later changed or omitted, and the falsified text cited for Gentile consumption as authentic. Interesting. It was not always that long passages were censored, but often single words alone were omitted. Often in these cases, another method of correction was used in place of omission, substitution. For example, the translators of the English Sonsino version of the Talmud sometimes render the Hebrew word goyim, Gentiles, under any number of disguised words such as heathen, Kuthian, Cushite, Egyptian, idolater. But these are actually references to Gentiles, all non-Jews. Footnotes for certain passages in the Sonsino Talmud translation state, Kuthian, Samaritan, was here substituted for the original Goy. The heirs of the Pharisees often deny the existence of the Talmud passages here cited in order to brazenly claim that such passages are the fabrications of anti-Semites. In 1994, the Odeon lady Jane Birdwood was arrested and prosecuted in a criminal court in London, England, for the crime of publishing in her pamphlet, The Longest Hatred, the truthful statement that the Talmud contains an anti-Gentile, anti-Christian passages. She was accused of violating the Public Order of 1986. They had a Public Order Act. In the course of her Orwellian thought crime trial, which was ignored by the United States media, a rabbi was called as a prosecution witness. The rabbi proceeded to flatly deny that the Talmud contained anti-Gentile or anti-Christian passages. And on the basis of the rabbi's prestige, this elderly and ailing woman was sentenced to 3 months in jail and fined the equivalent of $1,000. Can you believe that? So she was sentenced to 3 months in jail and fined $1,000 for doing what I'm doing right now, putting this out in the open, on the air and live. I need you folks to do me a favor, please. Support this effort. Give to the bottom links below. Pay particularly attention to the $ Doug Rice show, because that gets the money faster. And of course, the other edifices make the money laster. Okay, I'm done there. Let's continue. Pretty cool. Judeo-Christian response to the Talmud. Neither the modern popes or the modern heads of Protestantism, I got it, have ever insisted that the rabbis of Judaism repudiate or condemn the racism in the Talmud or the murderous hate for Christians and Gentiles expressed within it. On the contrary, the heads of Christianity have urged the followers of Christ to obey, honor, and support the followers of the Talmud. Therefore, it should be obvious that these Catholic and Protestant leaders are the worst betrayers of Jesus Christ on earth today. Let me tell you what you're doing. They are supporting Israel right now. They're supporting the state of Israel, which itself is supported by the Talmud. And isn't it interesting that the very Gentiles that come to the rescue of these Ashkenazi converted heathens who have such a disgusting belief against Gentiles, that the very Gentiles rescuing have no knowledge of the Talmud and its contents. The fact that they can spit on Christians, and those same Christians are giving money to support these monsters. Can you imagine this? Like and subscribe, share this live, and give so I can live. Judeo-Christian response to the Talmud. Neither the modern popes or the modern heads of Protestantism have insisted that the rabbis of Judaism repudiate or condemn the racism in the Talmud or the murderous hate for Christians. I know I read it. I'm reading it again. And the Gentiles expressed within it. On the contrary, the heads of Christianity have urged the followers of Christ to obey, honor, and support the followers of the Talmud. They are supporting Israel. They are urging Right now, you can look on TV, you can look on YouTube, you can look everywhere on social media, and there are Christian ministers, Baptist ministers, Catholic ministers, urging that you support these people. And this is what they believe. Non-Jews are a supernal refuse. Supernal refuse. Moreover, not only Christians, but non-Christians of all races are regarded as supernal refuge, garbage, by Talmud teachers, such as the founder of Chabad Lubavitch, Rabbi Shneur Zalman. These creatures exist, and I'm sure they're on God's list. This was analyzed in the Jewish magazine New Republic. There are some powerful ironies in Chabad's new messianic universalism in its mission to the Gentiles, and surely the most unpleasant of them concerns Chabad's otherwise undisguised and even racial contempt for the Goyim. These are right-wing white nationalists, but they're worse than that. I'm going to say this without hesitation. Netanyahu and his whole government, the entire state of Israel is nothing but a right-wing white nationalist state. But it's steeped in the religiosity that they fucking stole. They should go back to being fucking heathens, because this shit's getting old. Don't you ever forget what these people are. It's ridiculous ass shit. All right, let's continue. Sorry about that. I just had to go there. It's fine. Medieval Jewish theologians, most notably the poet and philosopher Judah Ha-Levi in 12th century Spain and the mystic Judah Loew in 16th century Prague, sought to define the Jewish distinction racially rather than spiritually. Why? Because they were turning light, because they were white, because they were coming face to face with Negroes, and they were selling us into slavery. This view, according to which there is something innately superior about the Jew, was rehabilitated in its most extreme form by Shneur Zalman of Ladi, the founder of Lubavitcher Hasidism, taught that there is a different essence between the souls of Jews and the souls of Gentiles. Who the fuck these people think they are? There is a difference in essence, and you motherfuckers ain't the stars. My God, they want it so bad they'll make it up. I need you to understand this. I need you to hear this carefully. I want you to look carefully at the Jews that were in the concentration camps. I want you to go find the photos of U.S. soldiers rescuing these superior people. I want you to look in the faces of the Jews that we rescued out of the hands of Nazis and tell me how goddamn superior they were in Dachau, in Auschwitz, in Treblinka, these superior beings. Because that's not at all what I'm seeing. The founder of Lubavitcher taught again that there's a difference of essence between the souls of Jews and the souls of Gentiles, that only in the Jewish soul does there reside a spark of divine vitality. Really? Says fucking who? Do you feel divine these days? As for the Goyim, Zalman's attitude was Gentile souls are of a completely different and inferior order. They are totally evil with no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Really, I've read your Talmud. You're doing some crazy shit in there to kids. I'm just saying. Okay, all right, whatever, okay. Wow. Consequently, references to Gentiles in Rabbi Shneur Zalman's teachings are invariably insidious. The non-Jews' material abundance derives from supernal refuse. Supernal refuse, I like that. Indeed, they themselves derive from refuse, which is why they are more numerous than the Jews. As the pieces of chaff outnumber the kernels, all Jews are innately good, all Gentiles innately evil. Do you understand what these people believe about you and me and everyone else that ain't a fucking Jew? Do you understand why they are hated globally? Real easy to find. All you gotta do is check out the Talmud. Moreover, this characterization of Gentiles as being inherently evil, as being spiritually as well as biologically inferior to Jews, has not in any way been revised in later Chabad writing. Wow. U.S. government lays groundwork for Talmudic courts. Listen to this, folks, because all of the U.S. senators that are Jews have dual citizenship here and in the state of Israel. All of the government officials that are high up, Janet Yellen, all of these people that are Jews have dual citizenship here in the state of Israel. Why? Who the fuck are they? Well, we're finding out. U.S. government lays groundwork for Talmudic courts. Our government, under Presidents Reagan, Bush, Clinton, have provided under the euphemism of education, for example, House Joint Resolution 173, Public Law 102.14, a groundwork for the establishment of Talmudic courts of justice to be administered by disciples of Shneur Zalman's Chabad successor, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson. You hear that? Maimonides ruled that it is a Jewish court, or a court appointed by Jewish authority, that enforces obedience and passes judgment on Gentiles, as well as promulgating legislation by court order for that purpose. Maimonides further decreed that any non-Jewish nation not subject to our jurisdiction will be the target of a Jewish holy war. These courts are to be convened under the Noahide laws, prescriptions against idolatry supposedly based on the covenant with Noah. The U.S. presidents and Congress are urged the adoption of the Noahide laws as interpreted by Chabad Lubavitch, Grand Rabbi Schneerson. Professor Early of the Southern University Law Center, a Jewish legal expert, has compared this public law, 102-14, to the first rays of dawn, which evidence the rising of a still unseen sun. The Jewish Encyclopedia envisages a Noahide regime as a possible world order immediately preceding the universal reign of the Talmud. Oh, these folks got plans. It has to be understood that we are not dealing with the Noah of the Bible when the religion of Judaism refers to Noahide law. But the Noahide law is understood and interpreted by the absolute system of falsification that constitutes the Talmud. Under the Talmud's counterfeit Noahide laws, the worship of Jesus is forbidden under the penalty of death. You hear that? Since such worship of Christ is condemned by Judaism as idolatry. Meanwhile, various forms of incest are permitted under the Talmudic understanding of the Noahidic law. You don't understand what's going on with these folks, huh? You don't understand why this sentiment against these folks? Why doesn't Netanyahu in front of a mic and talk about the Talmud, if that's what we like? Furthermore, all non-Jews would have the legal status of ger toshav, even in their own land. I don't know what that means. Oh, resident alien in their own land. Listen to that. As for example, in occupied Palestine, where newly arrived Khazars from Russia have an automatic right to housing and citizenship, while 2 million Palestinian refugees either fled or were repelled by the Israelis or forbidden the right of return. That is what the fuck's going on today with these people. This is what these Jews believe. The Talmud is what they perceive. And the truth about the Talmud is what we read. And this is all the proof and evidence that we need. Resident alien status has been clearly delineated in scholarly articles in leading Jewish publications. For example, Hebrew University professor Mordecai Neeson, basing his exposition on Maimonides, stated that a non-Jew permitted to reside on land ruled by Jewish law must accept paying a tax and suffering the humiliation of servitude. Oh, really? Oh, really? Like, subscribe, and share this live. You better share this live with everyone. Listen to me, folks. At this point, money isn't even relevant at this point, okay? I'm almost done. I'm on page 13, okay? There's 17 total. This live needs to go everywhere. This needs to be shared over and over and over and over again. Let me tell you why. This is what's going on over in the Middle East. This is who these people are, to say the least. This is unleavened bread without the yeast. If Gentiles refuse to live a life of inferiority, then this signals their rebellion and the unavoidable necessity of Jewish warfare against their very presence. This is what's going on today. As a symposium, is autonomy for resident aliens feasible, organized by Israeli Minister of Education Shulamit Aloni. The Israeli Chief Rabbi Shlomo Goren repeated the Talmudic teaching on resident aliens that Judaism forbids granting any national rights to them. He ruled that such autonomy is tantamount to denying the denial of the Jewish religion. Who the fuck are these people? American taxpayers subsidy the so-called U.S. Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. is yet another indicator of the gradual establishment of a Jewish state religion in the U.S. This Holocaust Museum excludes any reference to Holocaust perpetuated by Jewish communists against Christians in Russia and Eastern Europe from 1917 onward. They sure don't talk about how the Jews got busy in Russia. They sure don't. They don't talk about that. They sure don't talk about Tsar Nicholas and his whole family getting put up against the wall and shot, murdered, dead. They sure don't talk about how they corrected themselves. Boy, I tell you, is the picture getting clearer for you? The focus of the museum is almost entirely on Jewish suffering. Holocausts perpetuated by Israelis against Arabs in Lebanon and Palestine since 1948 are nowhere to be found in the exhibits of the U.S. Holocaust Museum, which functions more like a synagogue than a fucking repository of objective historical information. It is through the rapid emergence of this ostensibly secular but all-pervasive Holocaustianity, whereby the religion of Judaism has gained enormous power and influence as man's supreme ethos and the creed of God's holy people. Jewish laws require Christians be executed. Remember, folks, we're going over the Talmud. I'm just reading what the Talmud said. I'm quoting from the book. All you got to do is look it up yourself and you can take a look. Israeli Torah scholars have ruled that, okay, the Torah maintains that the righteous of all nations have a place in the world to come, but not all religious Gentiles earn eternal life by virtue of observing their religion. And while the Christians do generally accept the Hebrew Bible as truly from God, many of them, those who accept the so-called divinity of Jesus, are idolaters according to the Torah, punishable by death, and certainly will not enjoy the world to come. Who the fuck these people think they are? Who the fuck do these people think they are? Israeli Makana Mamre website, and that's where it comes from, I suppose. We have printed and preserved. Okay, so they tell that Jewish superstitions. It is not for nothing that the authoritative edition of the Talmud is known as the Babylonian Talmud. As Christians misled by their Judaizing preachers and popes are increasingly consulting Jewish rabbinical sources for a pure understanding of the Old Testament, they are unknowingly consulting the occult. I'm going to read that again. It is not for nothing that the authoritative edition of the Talmud is known as the Babylonian Talmud. As Christians misled by their Judaizing preachers and popes are increasingly consulting Jewish rabbinical sources for quote unquote a pure understanding of the Old Testament, and they are unknowingly consulting the occult when they do. Judaism is the religion of the Pharisees and the patrimony of Babylon, from whence the Talmudic and Kabbalistic traditions of Judaism ultimately derive. I'm reading that again. Judaism, the bastardization of true worship of Negroes. Judaism is the religion of the Pharisees, vipers, workers of lawlessness, and the patrimony of Babylon, from whence the Talmudic and Kabbalistic traditions of Judaism ultimately derive. That is the truth. That's who they are. They're not godly people by far. Orthodox Judaism's other sacred book, the Kabbalah, is filled with astrological teachings, fortune-telling, gematria, necromancy, and demonology. The photograph on the cover of this publication's hard copy version show an Orthodox Jew performing a ritual to transfer his sins to a chicken as he's waving it over his head. You're serious? You guys pass your sins over to chickens? So now we know where voodoo may have come from. This is pernicious superstition. Furthermore, the Israeli Star of David is actually nothing of the kind, but rather an occult hexagram, a yantra of the androgyne, which became associated with the what? With the Khazars. The Khazars in 14th century Bohemia. They are Khazars. The Star of David is from Khazar. They're not the people of the book. Netanyahu, all the Israeli government, every goddamned Israeli claiming to be people of the book, descending from Europe, need to take a look. You are Khazarian converts. You are a conquered people. The Prince of Ukraine conquered Khazaria. And the citizens of that conquered nation from Ukraine spread throughout Europe, and they weren't wanted. Meanwhile, they're trading slaves with Arabs. And pretty soon it dawns on these beings that they can easily usurp our position by continuing to sell Negroes, true Israel, into slavery, and then put their lily white European converted asses into our position. It was a sinister and deadly mission, and it continues today. Okay, where was I? The misnamed State of Israel was founded in 1948 in an alliance between Jewish communists and atheist Zionists, with crucial United Nations recognition provided by Soviet communist dictator Joseph Stalin. Christians might find it eye-opening to visit a Hasidic Jew area during Purim and observe the grotesque Halloween-like cavorting. Through the Purim festivals uses the book of Esther as its supposed proof text. In practice, the Jewish celebration of Purim is little more than a bucanal, and that comes from superstition, said legacy from the Jewish ancestors. They do some crazy shit over there too. Orthodox rabbis place curses, cast spells, and imagine they have powers greater than God, derived from their study of the Sefer Yezariah, a book of Kabbalistic magic. Christians are trafficking in Babylonian paganism when they defer to the rabbis of Judaism. This is who they are. This is why they're hated. See, they talk about the hate. They talk about the hate. They say, oh, we're hated, oh, we're chased, oh, but they don't talk about the reason. And this Talmud contains many reasons that someone may hate your asses, even the masses. Sodomy in the synagogue, from a report published in the Hebrew language newspaper Haaretz. For many years, Talmud scribe Yaakov Yitzchak Brazel sodomized ultra-Orthodox boys. The greatest rabbis knew and did nothing. At the age of 11, Moishelah, the strongest fellow in the Talmud Torah school for ultra-Orthodox boys, went up to the Shia Brazel and said to him, "Kid, I want you to know that your father is not the holy man you think he is. He is a homo." Brazil was a scion of the Brazil family, which founded the mysterious organizations that imposes moral order on the ultra-Orthodox ghetto. Had the father, Yaakov Yitzhak Britzel, contented himself with homosexual relations with adults, it is reasonable to suppose that we'd never heard his son's story. However, in his book, The Silence of the Ultra-Orthodox, published a few weeks ago, the son claims that for decades his father sodomized yeshiva students. He committed the act in empty synagogues during the hours between prayers and in other places. The greatest of the Orthodox rabbis, like Rabbi Landau and the Halachic sage Shmuel Halevi Hasner of Bnai Brak, knew and kept silent. The father was a Hasid, heart and soul, and went to a number of Rebs. The twin brother and the Reb from Rehovat, the Reb of Krichnif and Kiryat Gat, was happy to accept the father among his followers. Ultimately, claims Brazel, it was not easy for the Reb from Kiryat Gat to be picky when he could win such a respectable adherent. The proud father, with the look of an honored Rebbe, who observed all the commandments from the slightest to the most important, used to pray at a certain yeshiva with young boys. There, claims Shia Brazel, he hunted his victims. When the head of the yeshiva discovered the true reason that the respected Torah scribe was praying frequently at his yefya, he did not contact police. Before the publication of his book, Shia Brazel met with the yeshiva head. "You are right that we covered up for him," admitted the man. "I and a few other rabbis. I was busy trying to calm things down and hushing up the affair so that it would not get publicized." The son published the book using real names. His entire family and almost all the rabbis appear under their own names. Only the names of some of the localities and the head of the yeshiva are disguised. To protect himself from a legal point of view, Brazel held a series of conversations with members of his family and rabbis in which he demanded explanations of why they had covered up for his father's misbehavior. He secretly recorded all these conversations, even with his mother. If I had written without the names, it would have been fiction, and this certainly did not suit me. He explained, I wanted things to change for ultra-Orthodox society to know that it can attempt to hide things and be hidden, even if it takes 30 years. A golem will always rise up against its creator and reveal everything. In this case, I was the golem. You hear this? When Rachel Brazell, the daughter of a good Nye Brecht family, married an arranged match from the glorious Brazell family, she had no idea that she was destroying her own life. After 6 months, she caught her husband having sex with another man. In that case, at least it was with an adult. Shia Brazell relates that some of the boys with whom his father had relations sent letters of complaint to their own fathers. In the discreet, ultra-Orthodox society, they had no one else to whom they could complain. There he is right there. Shia Brazell, author of the book telling of sodomy in the synagogue. When she read these letters, my mother went out of her mind, writes Brazell. Every such letter made her want to demand a divorce. Again and again, batteries of mediators, the Brazell rabbis, would show up, whose job it was to calm her down so that, heaven forbid, she would not destroy the good name of the Brazell family. They could live with the fact that one of their own had raped minors, but for them, divorce was an impossible situation. Twice, once during prayers in a synagogue and once during a Gemara, a Talmud study hour, at Rabbi Eliezer Shach's Ponivza's yeshiva, ultra-Orthodox men who were strangers to him touched his sexual organ, presumably on the assumption that he followed in his father's footsteps. The first time he made a fuss only to discover the only thing that interested the people there was to hush the whole thing up. The second time he made do with a whispered warning to the man. Shia Brazell is now 36 and father of 3. He works as an accountant. His father, 65, was forced to leave home several years ago and return to his elderly parents' apartment. Shia wrote this book after a suicide attempt in June. For all those years I was half dead. For the past 5 years, I've been getting psychological treatment. During my talks with the psychologists, I decided that I was going to spew out all this ugliness in the form of the book. He took into account that there would be violent reactions to the book, which only came out a few weeks ago. Brazell suffers from a serious heart defect which could cause his death. As a way of protecting himself, he deposited a letter with 3 lawyers that contained serious allegations about the Eder Heredit, and he was informed the relevant people. Recently, he has moved to a new apartment. He lives in the national religious sector of a mixed community of national religious and ultra-Orthodox families. Naturally, he started praying at the only Hasidic synagogue in the settlement. After the book came out, associates of the local rabbi informed him that he was persona non grata. Ironically, the same rabbi had come to the area after being compelled to leave several other communities on suspicion of having sodomized his pupils. In ultra-Orthodox society, revealing that acts of sodomy have been committed is a far graver offense than committing them. On the day the book was published, Brazell met with the head of Yakamai Lublin Yeshiva, Rabbi Evrahim Yasner. He told me that publishing the book was 1,000,000 times worse than what my father had done. Heretz has been able to obtain a response from Rabbi Yaakov Yitzchak Brazell. At his parents' home, a woman replied, "We don't care." Shia is a liar, and there's nothing more to be said. Haaretz also requested the Brazell's response through the Eda Hadid activist Yehuda Misha Zahar. By the time the article went to press, there was no response through this channel either. Several weeks ago, I don't know why this is in here, but I'm going to read it. I don't understand it, but okay. On the day the book was published, met with the head. He told the book was 1,000,000 times worse, right? Several weeks ago, the father responded to the woman's magazine, La Shah, saying that he would sue the publishers, which has not yet happened. It is unlikely that it will happen. Shia Brazell was ready to put off the publication of the book on the condition that the family sued him in a rabbinical court in which the affair would be aired. He said that no one in the family was prepared to take up the challenge. In the conversation with Lasha, the father said that he was indeed a homosexual. But I've had treatment, and today I'm no longer like that. All that is behind me. In reply to a question as to whether he had sexual relations with minors, he replied, "Perhaps I will talk about that some other time." He accused his son Shia of being the only one who is after me. He's destroyed my life. He wrote this only for the money. He wanted money from me. Because of him, I separated from my wife. Shia's sister Revuk Rubik spoke with greater anger to the Shia reporter about the fact that her brother had revealed the names of the person involved and declared, "We deny everything it says," end quote. So I know what that is. That is the publication that they quoted in the very last portion of the reading. All right, folks, we got what we were needing. Why do they hate the state of Israel so great? Well, now that we've read this, maybe we can relate. There are reasons for everything. There are reasons, folks. And some of those reasons don't include jokes. These people are, they are evidently not what they present themselves to be. The truth about the Talmud is probably one of the most powerful, revealing shows that I have put out. And I pray and hope that you will share this show without doubt. Now, I'm tired. I've been on this for 2 hours? It's a 2-hour show. I think this is the longest I ever did go. But I appreciate your time. I do. And I appreciate you listening to my rhyme. It's true. I'm Doug Rice. This is the Doug Rice Show. I do have a sponsor, just so you know. All right? Twitware. That's right. Twitware. I'm going to be saying this until somebody buys $50,000 worth of his supplies. All right? You guys got to go to Twitware. This is my sponsor. There he is right there. Twitware.com % off all apparel and cosmetics using the promo code TDRS, and that stands for The Doug Rice Show, which is me, and this I got to go. But that's them, guys. Also, remember that this particular PDF file that I've saved is also available if you decide to show your support. We have a list, and I don't want it to be missed, but it takes a little bit too much time. So I'll just depend on the rhythm of my rhyme. All right, I got to go. Look, 9:02. Wow, 2 hours. That means I'm glad I can do this. I'm glad I'm able to do this, and I'm glad I got through this. I'm glad I read every page. All right? There's a lot going on in the world today, and we're soon to be on the stage. That's right, Negroes. The second Exodus is close. It is. Pretty soon they're going to wake up and they're going to catch the point they missed. I said it earlier in the show. I would have supported Israel had I not woken up. Now that I'm woken up, I don't support either of them. I know the circumstances of their circumstances. But as the Creator has said, that each man will return to his own land prepared. The state of Israel, you're going back to Ukraine, and you better understand and hear every word I'm saying. All right, that's it. I got to go. Thank you for tuning in to the Doug Rice Show. Share this live. Please subscribe. Hit the like button and, of course, the notification bell. But we know the notification bell don't work so well, so the notification bell can go to hell. Sorry, notification bell. All right, folks, I got to go. You guys get yourselves and share this show, and you have a good day. All right, I'm on my way. Bye-bye. Wait! Hold on, folks. Don't leave. I forgot. Wow, glad I remembered. Listen, it's Wednesday. It's hump day. But, it's the 1st of November. We got 60 more days to this year. And the end is certainly drawing near. But I want you today, for your own protection, I want you to just stay out of the way and stay out of connection. I want you to delve into this applied mental correction. But if you got to go out in public spaces, and I know you do me a favor. Get that goddamned grin off your faces.